All you conspiracy theorists should be ashamed of yourselves. If you buy into that conspiracy bullshit, then that means the Madrid bombings, the London bombings, and the Glasgow bombings, they were all conspiracies too. I happen to live 15 minutes down the street from the dipshits who blew up Glasgow airport, and I had only left Glasgow 4 months before it happened. And all of you who actually indulge yourselves into these conspiracy theorists, we're going to address the fundamental flaw in your stupid analysis of your conspiracy with building number 7. Do you know that there were numerous amounts of fuel tanks in that building? There were fuel tanks because the East Coast operates off of fuel to heat their buildings. Furthermore, there were backup generators that used diesel fuel. So on top of all of the burning in the building, there was ample fuel supplies which ignited it into an uncontrollable mess. Now you also don't cite the fact that 343 firefighters died in the WTO. So you mean to tell me that the FBI, the CIA, and the Secret Service and the police, Giuliani himself, couldn't go put out the fire? Gee, I wonder why. Are there not firefighters, dummy? I mean, have you ever seen a policeman, an FBI agent, or a CIA, or Mayor Giuliani fight a fire? I haven't. I'd like to see that. That's why they didn't do it. So why do you think it took them so long to respawn, guys? Well, let's see. A lot of them were dead. That's a logical solution, right? The guys died. The firefighters were dealing with things as best as they could. And remember, without communication. So on top of all these crazy fuel supplies in this building, there was a huge arsenal in the bottom of the building. So remember, not only were there flaming fires, there was detonations of bullets and grenades and other kinds of things. So, I wonder why the other guys didn't want to go help out in the building who weren't firefighters. Now, why did the building collapse in the middle? Let's look at the architectural prints of the blueprints there, dummies. The buildings were built over 2 foundations, and the main support beam across the 2 foundations gave out. Study the blueprints before you make stupid assumptions. Alright, let's address some issues. Carlos Mencia, you're brilliant. Your no strings attached made me laugh for hours. And you know what? You're a guy that I would wish to hang out with any day of the week. Any Mexican guy is cool in my book. Look, if you're talking about immigrants, have you ever met a Mexican guy who was a suicide bomber? Have you ever met a Mexican who considered themselves better than you? Have you ever met a Mexican who wanted to kill you just for being yourself? Mexicans come to the US because they want to be like us, and have things like us, and live like us, and they strive to be like us, and have what we have, which is fine. And I agree, we need to have them pay taxes when they come into America. But what I want to demand is immigration ratification and ban all immigrants from terrorist harboring nations. I want to ban all immigrants from countries who want to kill Americans. And proof? Okay, those who saw 9/11 happen and were in New Jersey, Brooklyn, and Manhattan after the World Trade Centers were destroyed, there were Muslim scumbags that went out in the street and started cheering and praising Allah and declaring it a great day. Now, remember, my connotation to a scumbag Muslim doesn't mean that I'm being a racist, because Muslim and Islam are not a race. Don't believe me? Okay. An ethnic group is a group of human beings whose members identify with each other, usually on the basis of presumed common genealogy and ancestry. Ethnicity and race are related concepts, in that both are usually defined in terms of shared genealogy. While the categories of race serve primarily to exclude people from the lower echelons of the industrial army, ethnic categories express the ways that particular populations came to relate themselves to given segments of the labor market. Making stupid comments that I'm a racist, telling me that I'm a racist because I don't agree with the Nazi Party, because I don't believe in the fundamental principles of their ideology, is the same scenario as calling me a racist for not believing the fundamental principles of Islam because they violate my constitutional rights that all men and women of whatever creed or whatever color are equal. All men and women are equal no matter what, under no exception to the rule. I don't condone any man to ever strike a woman under any circumstances, because you're a pussy, period, if you hit a woman. So I don't care if you're a redneck, African, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, or any other rainbow color. If you're a flamin' homosexual man and you're dressed like a woman but you still have a penis, you still can't hit a woman, period. So if I saw a woman who happened to be wearing their Muslim attire in their bed sheets, and a guy thought it was the will of Allah to strike her, I would proceed to kick his ass and subdue him because he violated my American values, period. Now back to what we were talking about. When these scumbags were out in the street praising Allah because 9/11 had happened, and they thought it was a great day when the tower destruction happened, right? These are the kinds of people that I want our country not to let into our country, period. At all, under no conditions. Anybody who wants to see other Americans dead don't deserve to be in our country, period. Anyone who sees joy in the misery of fellow countrymen should be deported as well. Now the sad thing is that Mexicans who actually embrace Americans are illegal. And the bastards who were happy for 9/11, they were legal immigrants that our country allowed with green cards and papers. So the real issue is that nobody has ever addressed is get all the fanatics out of the country who wish harm to fellow Americans. Ban immigration from Pakistan, Iran, and most importantly Saudi Arabia, because don't forget the facts that these were the guys who were actually on the planes. And they were all here legally. So don't jump on the poor Mexican hate wagon just yet, because I would rather stand next to a Mexican guy and live next to a Mexican guy and party with a Mexican guy and work with a Mexican guy than any one of these crazy Muslims. This is not the time to be a pussy American. It's time to take your stance on freedom, that all men and women are free and all have the same rights under the law set in stone, never to be refuted ever in our governmental systems. Every man and woman, no matter what rainbow color that they are, has the legal right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, with no one set color or creed or gender having any deviation to any other legally within the law of our country, period. And that's the point. Men and women of whatever creed must be equal under our laws, period, with no exceptions to the rule for anybody under any circumstances, and this should never be refuted. Personal belief in God and heaven has nothing to do with your rights legally to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Any group who is a religious group who seeks a political agenda should be reformed under the law and made into a political group, and not have a religious group to hide behind tax exemption. If you want to be political with your organization, then it needs to pay their dues to taxes and fall subject to the laws of a political entity. So I'm not here just to bash Muslims. I'm here to bash all religion, period. Because those who want to claim religion and want to be political should lose their religious corporation status of tax exemption for non-profits and be changed into political party status and be forced to pay taxes and be forced to adhere to the laws that a political party has to. That's the point. We do have a Nazi party, a communist party, a black power party, and whatever crazy other party you want under the law. Whatever, that's fine. You're a party. Pay your taxes. You're not a religious entity when you become political, because there should be separation of church and state, and it doesn't matter what crazy, fanatical, nut job religious aspect that you think that you are. Now, on a personal note, all you crazy nut jobs that think you're actually going to heaven and stuff, I mean, come on, guys. You've seen all these crazy nuts in church, in mosques, in temple, whatever you are, you've seen them all and shit. Do you really want to hang out in eternity with these guys? The guys that say they're gonna go, great, that's fine with me. I don't want to go where you're going, because to me, putting up with you for the rest of eternity, oh my god, what such bullshit would that be? Alright, we're on a roll, man. Next, in my opinion, I think we should ban the WTO and world trade. Okay, guys, come on. A 9-year-old kid works for a bowl of rice so that he can make you a t-shirt so that you can go buy it at Walmart so it costs you $3. Come on, I think we need to go back to our $20 t-shirt that was made in the USA, which outlasted that shit anyway. I mean, come on. Fair trade is when the working conditions are the same. That means that we all follow the same labor laws and we all work under the same standards, period. Otherwise, the notion of fair is complete utter bullshit. We need to learn that America doesn't accept disposable and garbage goods. Why do we tolerate junk? Why does China ship first-rate goods to Europe and second and third-rate goods to the US? Why are our standards so much less? That's pretty retarded. Why don't you just refuse to buy garbage goods, and then they won't have any money and they won't produce them? Why don't you support your own people? Sure, It cost more money, but that t-shirt did outlast that other one now, didn't it? I mean, did you grow up in the 80s, or did you just do too many drugs in that time period, guys? I think we should learn to support one another.